Hi.
Hi. I'm so glad you're doing this.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, it means a lot, obviously, that you're taking your time to do this, right?
I love you.
I love you too.
And I respect you.
Thank you, honey.
How long did it take you to,
I thought you were going to ask me my age. I did. I was certain that was what was coming.
how long did it take you to gather observations and perspectives and material, really, for this book, Core Confusions in Your Work?
It's been a process. So it's been pretty much 45 years of one conversation after another, after another, after another with so many people, like tens of thousands of people and different iterations. But really, when I finally came upon it, or it came upon me, either way, because it was kind of channeled in a certain way, right? It's been like 12 to 15 years where I've been working with the core confusions, I've been delivering in seminars, I've been working at, and it has had so many iterations, and now it's exactly what I've wanted it to be. I distilled it down into something that I think is really simplistic, but is accessible for people. So that was the whole intention. Yeah. But it's been like 12 to 15 years, I think, something like that. But it wasn't about time or how long. It was really about the right thing, the right expression.
Give me an example or several of core confusions. What are they, so that I'm not basically confused?
Yes, I understand. I still have a client who I've had for 30 years. If you asked him what a core confusion is, you have no idea.
Honestly?
Yeah, I swear to God.
Wow, really?
Yeah, he lives it. He's embodied it, and he's integrated it, but he couldn't explain it at all. So a core confusion is something that they look exactly the same, they look identical, and yet they have an entirely different effect. And everyone has one or two or three core confusions that they live from.
Can you give me an example?
Yeah, I will. I'll give you a specific example. I just want to kind of create a generic, explanation for it. So a core confusion would be like arrogance and confidence. So they look exactly the same. The phenomena looks exactly the same. Someone that has that confusion or conflict. So there are times when they're arrogant, and there's an anatomy to all that, to what arrogance looks like. And then there's an anatomy to what confidence looks like. So people don't understand. They think, oh, this is just me. They don't have it distinguished out like, no, this is me being arrogant and this is me being confident. So everyone has one or two or three core confusions. So arrogance is someone who's promoting what they know, posturing, needing to be seen as a particular place. And confidence just this is the essence of someone, right? And there's a specific anatomy to that.
I know exactly what you're saying, because I met somebody yesterday, a person new to me, and what I walked away with was that he was completely confident but not arrogant.
Yeah.
And it was so clear, the differentiation.
It's
so I
huge.
know what you're talking about.
Yeah. And what it yields is huge. And people don't realize that they don't have an understanding like, well, how come things are working for me today and they're not working for me tomorrow? Or how come in this area I'm quite insecure or quite arrogant is the affect, and in this area I'm quite confident. And I always think people have a blind spot somewhere. So you can be really brilliant in one area and really dense in another. So this is a way of clearing that up. Another core confusion would be like childlike and childish, which is mine. That's mine. That's yours and mine. We share that. So
childlike and childish.
So childlike.
I know the difference, but go ahead.
Yeah, but there's this great George Bernard Shaw quote that says, "Magnetic. He has the power to infect others with the delight that he takes in himself."
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, I love that. Right.
Yeah.
And that's when someone's childlike, it's contagious and it's beautiful and and it creates collaboration and leadership and all things. And when someone's childish, they're just snotty little pouting, wondering why
demanding trouble. Yeah.
And kind of childlike and childish goes along with entitled and privilege, because usually childish is entitled, right? And privilege is childlike. So those are core confusions, and everyone has one or two or three core confusions that they live from, right? And it's understanding how that impacts your life, and if you can really get a handle.
It's a long time.
It does. It takes a hand. You get a handle on it, though. You really have access in a really profound way to things kind of flowing, working out. Not destroying everything that you touch.
You used to say,
right.
You used to say that Leslie can walk into a room and nuke the entire room.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. Well, that's how we started working.
I know.
That was like, I'm going to diffuse some of this bomb called Leslie Ann Warren. And that's how we started working together, right?
Exactly.
And then we realized how dark we were together, right? and what we share.
We have a lot of work to do.
Yes.
It's a couple.
So yeah.
Okay.
So those are like, so I just mentioned a few. So there's arrogance and confidence. They look exactly the same, having done it, childlike and childish. Then I just threw in kind
I
of
love it.
entitled and privileged.
So clear. This feels like a really relevant and important question. How does understanding core confusions actually help to nurture relationships, all kinds of relationships?
So there's your own personal core confusions, you know, as I said. Then people, and I think I've got like 50, there's more, and people keep inventing their own, which I think is great. That's kind of the purpose, is that once you start to get connected to this, you start to look at other things and nuances, and you start to come up with your own core confusions, right? And people have been doing that, right? But I've got like 50 working ones, right? You know, that are pretty intrinsic to most human beings.
Yeah.
So just the way that someone might understand their own, then they start to see how they manifest in partnerships and in relationships, right? And so those are really, for me, the most fascinating part of it. Because when the two dysfunctions are talking to each other, so I'll use mine, hell. It's like a bloodbath in your house. Let's just use mine and Jen's, my wife's, right?
Is she okay with this?
Oh, sure. She knew when she married me, she had to go public with everything, all her deficiencies and dysfunctions. But mostly they're all my dysfunctions, so she's pretty good with that. So mine's arrogance and confidence is one of my core confusions, right? And hers is critical and direct. So direct is when you're freed up and liberated, and you're speaking from a very responsive place, not a reactive place. And it's really educational, and it's directing, and it has power, right? It's got leadership to it. Critical is when you're in a reactive state and you've got opinions, and it's not useful.
That's kind of dicey. I mean, that feels very...
No, you really have to have an understanding of how it actually feels.
Yeah.
And I'm always working with these core confusions. How does that feel? Does this feel like you're being critical? Does it feel... And just look at the responses you're getting. Also, you know, there's reflection that people will give you that will show you that, oh, that's critical as opposed to direct. You know, there's something that's, you know, got power to that. Just like a great orator or a great speech, right? So when critical is talking to arrogance, a bloodbath in our house.
Correct.
Right, obviously. When direct is talking to confidence, it's collaborative, creative, surrendered. It's a very different thing.
But it must be hard to get both people's issues around core confusions on the same, you know, table
on the
at the same time.
Yeah, well,
because
but if you're working it enough, you know, you kind of get more familiar with it, right? And just like over time, hopefully you see, and a positive, on the positive side, like confidence can diffuse critical, you know, so it can actually hear something, listen, so the person actually can get diffused. It doesn't create magic. Like if there's confidence and direct, that's magical. Right. It creates collaboration. It's like 1 and 1 make 100. Right. But the positive side, like confidence, can actually diffuse a negative side. So, you know, you're just...
It's hard.
I know it's
hard not to get triggered.
No, it's like it requires, you know,
diligence and awareness,
and also a desire to have an extraordinary relationship, a desire to have an extraordinary partnership. And what are the tools that you use to have an extraordinary partnership or relationship?
That's great. It's fabulous. Why did you choose to take such a unique, delightfully disruptive approach to the visuals of this subject matter in your book?
Well, that's also had many iterations, right? I had a whole slew of illustrations before that another artist had done.
Did they suck?
No, they didn't suck. They were actually great in a lot. No, I know you were. They were actually great. The only thing is I didn't feel that they really were sophisticated enough for a sophisticated audience, right? And then my art director, a person I think you might know,
I do.
found this amazing artist, and it just absolutely replicated.
Yeah, they're fabulous.
Yeah, they're amazing. And so the concepts didn't change. I conceptualized the visuals that I wanted to express the core confusions were pretty consistent. Ron and a couple other people added new ones, right? New concepts, right? And then obviously were executed by the artist. But yeah, I really wanted it to be more sophisticated and more edgy and more interesting. And I'm just so happy with the way it's worked out. And the visuals absolutely anchor the distinction.
Yeah.
I didn't think, because it's abstract. It's not easy, as you just mentioned. It's a nuance and it's hard to see. So those visuals are really essential to support the concept.
Yeah, they're compelling.
Yeah.
And they're exactly what you're saying. I mean, they enhance what you're saying, because what you're saying is complex.
Yeah, and it's abstract
And
in a
it's
certain
abstract
way. Yeah,
in
and-
some ways.
yeah.
But these paintings by Belinda are also, you have to really
you have to
pay
like
attention.
think about it, and you have to
think
feel about
and
it.
search inside of the painting to understand what she's attempting to replicate in your book.
Yeah.
It's perfect. It's perfect.
And also just that whole, there's such an evocation to the visuals, right? So I want people to feel those core confusions as much. That's really what, I don't want them to think through this.
Yeah.
Kind of like you get, you start with concept, then you get to an emotional context, then to something that's organic. And I want it to
kind
be,
of like the Guernica.
yeah,
I'm not kidding.
yeah, that's
I mean,
right.
it
Yeah,
has that
a little bit like that.
Power,
Yeah.
and you're not thinking about what it's about until you sort of stay with it, and then you get what it's about, and it's horrifying in that regard, but it does the same thing. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I also wanted people to do those retrospectives about their life, like, oh my goodness, if I'd known something like this before, if I had thought that I might be able to move differently.
Of course.
But so that's all. It's all part of it.
Journey.
Yeah.
Life.
Yeah, yeah,
This has been great.
yeah. Well, you're great.
You're great.
No, you're great. Schmoopy. Sorry.
I do love you, and I love your intelligence and your empathy and your compassion and your wisdom and your life experience and your ability to communicate all of those things, and you're so fucking funny.
Thank you, honey. I adore you, and I can't thank you enough for taking your time, which you certainly don't need to, and you have, and so appreciate it. And the relationship has so many different hats.
I know.
Do you know?
I know.
I'm like your indentured servant, right? And then I'm your guide. Then I'm your coach, right?
And
So
we're like walking the path together.
Yeah,
I know.
yeah.
It's really great.
I love
It's
you
really
so
great.
much.
I love you too. I love you too.